Kansas City, Kansas. His name is DA Mark Dupree. Let's give him a round. But what you guys don't realize, wow, they've got two other gentlemen with them. And I'm not going to say who they are or what they do, but it's important for them to also let you know the importance of their role, what they do, and maybe why they travel along with our illustrious leaders in KC. Okay, so thank you so much for everyone sitting here. There may be one or two other students coming, but again, thank you guys for being here. Please proceed.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's good to see y'all. Thanks for having us here. It's an honor to be here with you. I'm going to be real brief because I know you all have a lot of questions I'm sure you want to ask me, but I'm not originally from the Kansas City area. I grew up in San Jose, California. My dad moved our family out here with General Motors. I believe it was my sophomore year in high school. I graduated from Wyandotte High School. After I graduated, I joined the police department, got laid off from the police department, joined the Army, did 4 years in the Army, got out, went back to the police department. I was the first, well, I was the youngest African-American member of the police department to make detective, and I was the youngest member of the police department to make captain on the police department. I was the youngest member to become major, and I was the youngest African-American member to become a deputy chief, and I was the first at the time, only black officer that ever selected and went and graduated from the FBI Academy in Quantico. While I was on the police department, I did a term and a little bit more on the Kansas City, Kansas Community College as a board of trustee member. I was also on the ad hoc group against crime board. I also served as the governor of Kansas appointed me to be the 3rd District African American Affairs Commissioner for Wyandotte, Johnson, and Miami County. I retired from the police department in 2019. I came over to Kansas City, Missouri, the Housing Authority, where I served as their public safety director for the Housing Authority of Kansas City, Missouri. While I was at the Housing Authority of Kansas City, Missouri, some folks from Wyandotte County asked me to run for mayor, prayed about it, ran for mayor, and I became the first African American elected to the mayor of Kansas City, Kansas. And currently, I'm the only black mayor in the entire state of Kansas, right here in Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County. And so, yes. And so it's an honor and a privilege, and that's pretty much a snapshot of my professional career for you all to just kind of take note of.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am District Attorney Mark Dupree. District Attorney, we can get into what that does, but ultimately the main part of it is if you commit a crime in Wyandotte County, I'm the guy who's going to make sure you get punished for it. So, having said that, I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County, went to Wyandotte High School. My father and his side of the family grew up over here in Kansas City, Missouri. They went to Central High School, and coincidentally, I almost went to Central this morning and realized it said Center. So I'm glad I looked at what my public information officer indicated. And while I'm on that, Mr. Jonathan Carter is our public information officer over there at the Wyandotte DA's office. He has 30 years of experience of traveling the world in journalism and as an anchor on television in multiple states. And once I won election and became the first and still only elected African-American elected district attorney in the state of Kansas, I recruited Mr. Carter to come and make sure that he helps me deal with all of the outside forces. My job and my staff's job of about 80 is to focus on dealing with crime and prosecuting cases and making sure that victims' voices are heard in the courtroom. However, outside of the courtroom, I deal with the news, I deal with the media, I deal with the politics, I deal with people who don't like me. I don't know why. And having said that, I have Mr. Jonathan Carter who deals with all of those folks, who makes sure that he is the liaison and the voice and the buffer to allow me to still do my job, which is focusing on justice and what is right. That means some people get to get probation, and some folks get to get anger management classes, but there are some bad folks out there that need to go away, and we send them to what I've coined as adult timeout. And sometimes it's for a little while, and sometimes for the rest of their life, depending on what it is that they do. And so, having said that, we have a great team over there in Wyandotte County who focuses on doing what is right, what is equitable, and what is just for everyone in the community. But then the other part of that we brought out is making sure that we show up, as the mayor said, to events like this, is that we go out into the community and that we talk. What is the age group that we're dealing with? What's the age that we? Teenage high school. So is it all freshmen through seniors? Okay, so I got some freshmen in here. Okay, so I was a freshman. When first time I met a judge. I was a freshman, first time I had my first encounter with the criminal justice system. And as a freshman, I had never met a lawyer. I had never met a judge. I didn't know anybody in the legal field. In fact, as a young black man in this country, the only thing I knew about the criminal justice system is you stay away from the police or you're going to jail. And so that was it. Well, as a freshman, I had good grades, emphasis on good grades. You can't go to school and tell you not to make good grades, make good grades. So I was making good grades, and I was a part of the National Honor Society, and they told me I had an opportunity to shadow someone downtown. And so I got on the bus and went downtown, and I had the opportunity to what I thought, Mr. Mayor, I thought I was going to be going in and meet the mayor, and I wasn't. They took me to the Wyandotte County Jail. And I didn't want to get off the bus because I didn't want to go to jail. But in Wyandotte County, the jail and the courthouse is connected. And so we went into this courthouse, and I went upstairs, and I walked into this courtroom, and ultimately I was met and began to really form a bond with a judge who was a little short African-American guy, a little mini afro. And that was the first time I had ever seen someone in a position of authority in the courtroom that, one, looked like me, two, was from where I was from. And I'm from the inner city, right? Most of the folks, my understanding that you in these highfalutin positions, you got some money and silver spoon and you go, no, he was from the hood as well. And he persevered and he became this judge. And so that opened my eyes to what I could do in the criminal justice system without becoming a criminal or without getting caught up with the statistics and trying to be a drug dealer or some knucklehead or whatever. And that mentorship and that example ultimately led me to where I'm at. So I think I've said enough, and the mayor's introduced himself. Now we want to make sure that you are able to fill that paper up while you got us. So who wants to jump in with some questions? And we like volunteers, so we won't have to call them. Oh, I like the hands. How much money? Look at you. Look at you. Put it out there. What I will say is it's well over 6 figures. So there you go. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Excuse me.
You said there have been times that you've had to you have your actions have resulted in particularly bad criminals going to jail for life or prison, whatever the difference is, for life. How do you? Yes, these are still bad people and they deserve some punishment, some kind of punishment. But like objectively, prison in a lot of people's eyes is seen as worse than death, because especially if it's for life, because everyone else in there is horrible too, and your life just won't be that good unless you do, I guess, a good job in prison, like recreational and stuff, and you eventually get out. Sometimes that happens. Like, how do you deal with the moral, like for you personally, how do you deal with the moral
Conflict?
Conflict of that.
So before I was a prosecuting attorney, I was a criminal defense lawyer. And throughout this entire time, I've been a minister. So I'm a man of faith. I'm a pastor of a church, and I run into that question often. How do you pastor and prosecute? And I tell folks all the time that even biblically speaking for me, justice has a definition. And justice ultimately says that everyone has to be held accountable for their actions. And in our country, that means, based off of the legislature, what the law says that punishment is. Jail is not for everyone. I believe that as a minister of justice, which the Supreme Court says that we are, we have to, as prosecutors, look and see holistically what is going to be the benefit for the community. Some people you send them to prison, they're going to come out. In fact, 90% of the people that you send to prison, they're coming back into your community within 10 years. Not everyone goes away for life. It's only a short amount of people that do that. So the question then becomes for me, and how do I deal with that, is what is the best resolution for this individual and for the community? Is it going to be best to send them to, quite frankly, criminal college, which is jail, for them to sit around with other criminals and sometimes hardened criminals, to teach them how to be even hardened criminals, more hardened criminals, and come out and do more harm to our community? Sometimes the answer is absolutely not. No, we need to give them probation. We need to make sure that they get some treatment for the drugs, which is the underlying issue. Sometimes we need to make sure that they get the mental health treatment that they need, and then that we surround them with the support groups and the help that they need. But also, they need some anger management, right? Because they got some issues. But sometimes that means, yes, they need to go sit down for a while, because in our country, every person has a right to walk around without being afraid. Every person has a right to walk around without being harmed. And nobody has the right to infringe upon someone else's ability to be free and not worry about being attacked. And so when you attack someone and you cause that type of harm and you take, quite frankly, their freedom of peace away, then you ought to get some type of adult timeout. And so it's the holistic thinking that causes me to say, which should be done? It's not one shoe fits all, but it takes time to really dissect it and figure it out. And so not everyone goes to prison, but some absolutely need to go there, and then some need to go there for the rest of their lives because they have no desire to change and no desire to allow other people to enjoy their life without at the risk of being harmed by them. So sometimes it's difficult, but that's why you make the money that I make. You make those hard choices. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
Where are the problems with being black folks?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, please.
Oh, well,
Do you mind if we repeat her question because she has a soft voice? She asked, what are the problems with being black in politics? Thank you, I'm sorry.
okay. Before I answer your question real quick, and I apologize, the individual right there with the camera taking pictures, that's he's one of my top advisors. He's my community engagement advisor. He works in my office, and he also spent 32 years on the Kansas Police Department. And his name is Steve Williams. And he's one of my valued advisors. And so usually where you see me out in the community, you also see him because he does a lot of community engagement, whether I'm there or not. So, and we didn't give the DA, let me get to your question, but we didn't give the DA a round of applause. He is the first duly elected district attorney, not just in Wyandotte County, but in the entire state of Kansas, and we need to champion his achievement. Now, getting to your question, well, there's a lot of challenges. I was just talking to Steve about that on the way over here. As you know, certain expectations and scrutinies are a little more, in my experience, when you're a person of color in leadership. People scrutinize you, they stereotype you, they expect you to do things in a certain way that maybe doesn't reflect who you are, reflect the values that you have. I've always said, for me, throughout my career, I've always felt like I've had to work twice as hard. And even with that, sometimes in some people's eyes, I'm still considered average. But I didn't let that stop me. As an elected official, I got to watch my step, and that's what one of my mentors told me. They said, when you get in these positions, watch your step, because everybody else is. And me being the first, this isn't just about me. It's about my family, it's about my community, and it's about what I want history to reflect, not just of Tyrone Garner, but for black people in general, that we are competent, we're capable, we're educated, We can get things done, we can make good decisions, and I want young people such as yourselves to see that value in yourselves through me, to say, okay, he did it, and he accomplished things. He didn't embarrass his community by doing things that we don't want somebody in these seats to do. He kept things professional, and that's a leader that we can be proud of. Because I can tell you there's a lot of forces out there that don't want people of color to succeed. And even if they do want you to succeed, sometimes you have to get over those stereotypes, that scrutiny of, okay, what's he gonna do? You know what I'm saying? You know, what's he into? And you kind of gotta overcome that constantly, just trying to prove yourself to society and to people that
Excuse the
you are
interruption.
competent.
Dejan Holly, please report to room 209. Dejan Holly, please report to room 209.
And so it can be challenging, but I've dealt with it all my life. I think as a person of color, we all have dealt with that. You know, I'm sure you all walked into stores. You've had people question you by what you wear, how you look. You just can't let that stop you. Sometimes you just got to look past it and realize that's just the reality of the society we live in. And do your best, give your best. I know my office motto is give the community your best and let your best always reflect excellence in everything you do. And those are the things that I want the community to remember for. But it's not easy. It's not easy because you don't get a lot of support. Like a lot of my previous colleagues that weren't black. I've been met with obstruction. I've been met with undermining. I've been met with disrespect. I've been met with people that have tried to pull the rug out from under me, character assassinations. You get that in politics, but as somebody of color, in my opinion, from what I've observed from other people that were mayors, it's up here in my eyes. It's elevated. You see what I'm saying? Because some individuals, society says that leadership isn't supposed to be a person of color in a lot of people's minds. And those are things in our society that we've got to get over in our country and realize that, yes, people of color can be great leaders, have been great leaders, and all of us have contributed positively to our communities and to our society here in America. And so, but those are some of the challenges that I deal with of being black in leadership, as an elected official, and to survive, you can't get caught up with that. You just have to do what's right. Whatever you do, put God first, number one. That's what's helped me, is through my faith. And just do what's right for the people. I always tell people that if you get into leadership or if you get into public service or you become an elected official and you're in it for you, then you're in it for the wrong reason. You need not apply because it's not about you. It's about what you can do to improve the quality of life for the people that you represent, and that's what they want you to do. I had he's deceased, he died last year, but one of our community elders in Wyandotte County, his name was Chester Owen. You can look him up, he's all out there. He's a historian. He was one of the first black council members in Kansas City, Kansas. And when I was on the police department, I was helping him out with a neighborhood problem. And I made the mistake of saying, well, you are a politician, Mr. Owens. You should know. He stopped me in my tracks and he said, number one, I'm not a politician and I've never been a politician. He said, I've always been an elected official. And he said, young man, you need to learn what that means when he talks about public service, of being a politician and being somebody that is an elected official that's doing the work for the people. And I've taken that. And yes, there's politics in life and everything, but being involved in politics and being a politician, in my opinion, just from that little lesson that Chester Owen gave me, is two different things. And so I've always prided myself in being an elected official. And then beyond all that, even with the struggles, just let your work speak for itself. I don't have to go out here and say, look at me, I'm somebody important, champion me. I put my pants on one leg at a time just like everybody else. I'm still a human. The DA mentioned it. I graduated from Wyandotte High School. And hopefully you all see that in me and the DA is, you know, nobody gave me a pass to the mayor's office. I had to work hard. I had to get my education. And I had doors closed in my face. I've been disrespected. as I go up that ladder and those steps, I can't tell you how many times I've been kicked out. But I had to pick myself up, and I had to brush myself off, and I had to keep moving, and not quit and not give up. And that's the resilience that you need to have when you face adversity, and you're going to face it in life. I know we all have haters. We all have challenges. Everybody in this room deals with something. If not today, trust me, tomorrow you're going to deal with something. We deal with, as people, we deal with everything. So you can't get caught up in the challenges of life. You just have to keep moving, put your faith in God, and keep moving forward with it, and know that God's got you. And as long as you walk in faith and live in your purpose, it doesn't matter what the challenges are, what anybody thinks about you. As long as your motives are pure and your faith is strong, you're going to be successful.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I know he doesn't look like it, but he is older than me, and so I can't interrupt him, but I know y'all got like 20 questions on these papers, so we're gonna try to give y'all popcorn answers so you can get at least 5 to 7 of them questions filled out for your assignment. But I will say, as a black person in an elected position, you have to have some thick skin. Right? Don't run around. People don't talk bad about you. They talk bad about you anyway. So what? Just when you're an elected official, they don't mind doing it to your face. And all right, so don't wear your feelings on your sleeve. Get over it. 2, don't allow those stereotypes that the mayor was talking about. Don't get to the point, well, if they expect me to do it, then I'm gonna just do it there. You want to see this, and I'm gonna just be there. Don't do that, right? That ain't good. That's gonna mess up your money. Okay, so just ignore that foolishness. And then lastly, have allies, right? You can be black and proud, but you also need to have black, brown, white, Asian, Native American. You need to have a very diverse friendship and partnership with others, because specifically with Wyandotte County and Kansas City, we are the most racially and ethnically diverse community in the state of Kansas, and it's only 3 like that in the nation. Right? So as an elected official, the mayor doesn't represent black people only. As a DA, I don't represent black people only. Now, I just happen to be black, but I got white folks, I got brown folks, I got broke folks, I got all kinds of folks in all kinds of denominations. And so be black, but don't exclude others, because that's very divisive. All right, what other questions you got? Yes, sir.
Nice to see you again, Mayor Garner. My question is, because I heard you're not running for re-election, I could have missed it because I was a bit late. Was there a reason behind that? Because I heard you're not running.
It's a great question, young man.
I was waiting for that answer.
Just keep it in line with the DA's instruction. Popcorn, no reason.
No.
I started in 1987, and it's going on 40 years. When I became mayor, I had a platform and I had things that I wanted to get done. And I've checked all those boxes. And I just feel like everything that I set out to do, whether they actually got done, because I don't control everything, the DA mentioned it. I'm the mayor, but I can't get things done by myself. The mayor's office, basically, I engage in policy. I bring it forward to a commission. They ultimately make the decisions. Public relations, advocacy, where I advocate on behalf of the community. And then I do a lot of ceremonial things, like you see today, educational outreach to people in the community. And so I've checked all the boxes, and I feel good about where I'm at and what I've accomplished. And so it's time.
Sounds good.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Well, he can go first.
Go ahead.
How do you see changes being made by the current presidential administration affecting our local government?
I'll let the DA answer. He just came from a conference, and they had that discussion.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. You're so kind, Mr. Mayor. I did just come back from the National District Attorneys Association conference, and we were in Charlotte. But right before that, we were in D.C., and it is affecting the law greatly. There are a lot of executive orders that are not based on law. And as the chief law enforcement official in our counties across the country, it's our job to enforce the law. And it's very difficult when you have a president who is doing things that are not legal. The good thing is we have the courts, and you have judges across the country right now who are doing their job, which is saying that the Constitution is the law and that the statutes are the law, and you cannot, in any position, in any political spot, just come in because you want something and just change it. It is greatly affecting a lot of our financial situations. We have grants, which are called VAWA, which is a grant specifically for domestic violence that involve women. And so we have prosecutors who deal specifically with those type of crimes and sex crimes of children being sexually assaulted. It all comes under that type of grant. Well, with some of the changes under this presidency, that money is at risk to go away. So with that, the question then comes in, who's going to prosecute those cases, and what victims advocates are going to assist those victims of crime. And so these are the things that prosecutors, mayors, and so on and so forth, who are on the local level, are grappling with, because those things are greatly affecting us. So hopefully the courts across the country federally will keep these safeguards and keep things at bay to help us keep moving. But if not, we will have to cope and adjust, and in 4 years, hopefully we will get someone who respects the rule of law just a tad bit more. Yes, sir.
As educated black men who I presume know history, especially the history of America and all people in America for the last 400 years, even 400 or so years, how do you, and this comes from someone who's very disillusioned with this entire country and just this government as a whole, how do you work in the positions that you do while knowing that you are working for a government that more or less doesn't care about us or people that look like us?
Well, I think that's an easy question. The DA and myself, you got to be the change you want to see. You have to see yourself as the DA, a mayor, an elected official, a city councilman, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. We have to see ourselves as being in these positions that can bring value and bring a different perspective and bring equity to a lot of the challenges that you're hitting on in our country. And others need to see you in these positions. Others need to see you in these positions so they can say, okay, we've moved the needle just a little bit further. Because I can tell you, probably 50 years ago, you would never saw a black mayor or a black DA in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. So we are moving in a direction to bring about change. But to be that change, you have to see yourself as being part of that change. So I encourage you all, get your education, work hard, and my parents always told me, as long as you do right, you can't go wrong. So just keep moving in the right direction, and no matter the challenges, number one, get a vision, get a goal, be resilient, stay consistent, and whatever you're trying to achieve in life, just don't give up, don't quit. But to solve that problem, we need more young people of color to see themselves as professionals. Nothing wrong with being in entertainment, whether it's sports, music, arts, whatever the case may be. But we see a lot of us in those professions, especially sports and music. And if you look at it, there's statistics out there that show that less than 1% of us, and you can be the best, whatever, less than 1% get to the NFL, the NBA. You follow me? But we need educated, talented people that have skill sets to come back in our communities and to give back. And that's what's going to bring about the change that I know that you're hitting on, that you want to see in our country.
So don't allow disillusionment to cause you not to do. Because here's the reality. You're in this country. We all know the history of this country. And we all know that fact is it sucks. Yeah. Right? This country was built on the backs of black, brown, and broke folks. And I say broke because of all races, the broke folks still got the brunt end of this situation, right? So black, brown, and broke folks built this country, and we all know the history beyond that. But this country is just like the development of a caterpillar. And what happens after things go, after after the press happens, after you develop and you keep pushing and you keep priming, you ultimately end up to this beautiful flying what? Butterfly, right? But you don't start out as this butterfly. Here's the point. Just because you start out at one thing doesn't mean you got to end up the same thing, unless you get so disillusioned that all you do is crawl around like a little freaking caterpillar. Or you grow the heck up and you say, you know what? It is what it is, but I'm not going to stay that way. And rather than talking about what's wrong with this country, I'm going to be the thing, the one, to create the process to fix it. And as the mayor said, become that solution. Mr. Mayor is so ever kind, he said 50 years ago you wouldn't have seen us here. Did you hear what he just said? He's the first black mayor. When was you elected?
4 years ago.
I'm the first black elected DA 8 years ago. So we ain't got to go back 50 years. Go back 8 years, okay? Change takes a long time. But what you can't do is be so disillusioned, so angry, so mad, so frustrated, so flustered at what history is, that you not make history for generations to come, because they too will be looking at our time and saying, what history can we stand on and be bold and proud about? So yes, be upset. Yes, don't like it, but don't not do something.
What if there's someone, and I've had thoughts about this too, I'm just permanently leaving this country because, and not even like to downplay the efforts and achievements of those who came before us, those black people who did do this thing that you're talking about, of like trying to be the change that they want in this country. Sometimes it just looks so minuscule a little bit, especially when the issue is still there and the people at the top, the president, like at the very pinnacle of like the whole national government is like not good people.
So here's the thing. There will be someone at the top of everything, right? A few years ago, everybody loved Barack Obama, but not everybody, right? And he was at the top and at the pinnacle, right? But somebody didn't like what Barack Obama did. And not all black folk like what Barack Obama did. Just like not all white folk like what this president is doing. So there's always going to be something that we don't like about somebody at the top. But I will say this. In this country, we have a thing called choice. And that choice and democracy is something that many other countries and nations in this world do not have. Period. And so, though I disagree with how we were started, though I disagree with a lot of the things that we deal with, I still stand firmly. And this is a black man in this country who understands the racism and the stereotype and the hypocrisy that the government that we represent has in it. I still stand firmly and say we are the best country in the world. And I know friends, colleagues, and educators who have went out. And you know what? They too say, it sucks, but America still has it. Because when they go over there, guess what they have to do? They still have to build something. So you choose, you go and you try and do whatever you need to do, but America's going to be here. What other questions do we have? And make sure we have your information so we can help you with your thinking. Yes, sir.
I was gonna ask you, like, what was the struggle? Like, what was your main, like, point and struggle as you came up as a black African American in your position?
Okay, I got to go to another school, so I got to run, but I'm answering this question.
Just like one main point, like, that you, like, want to point out.
That was my struggle.
One main thing.
Doing the work. Doing the work. It was literally being disciplined enough to do the work. So to become an assistant district attorney in my office, you have to go to law school. You have to have your license to practice law. You have to pass the test to get there. And before I got into the office as DA, there was only one African-American assistant prosecuting attorney in my office, right? Over the time that I've been there, we've had well over a dozen. But I was not able to hire any of them unless they were lawyers. For me, growing up, just be real candid, I hated school. I did not. I didn't like reading. I hated reading. I ended up finding out I had an intellectual disability, and for me, reading, I can read the same paragraph 10 times and not get it. But if I read it out loud and I hear it, I get it immediately. Well, I didn't know that until I got to law school. So I'm struggling all these years with this stuff, and I'm thinking I'm hating it because I didn't understand how I learned, right? But ultimately, I had to get over how I felt about it and what I thought about it, go to all these schools, get all this education so that I could be in a position to run for office, be in a position financially to do what I needed to do. And so that meant I also had to disconnect from some of the homeboys that was in my community that was pulling me in a different direction, right? So quick story, and Mr. Carter was telling me to come, but I was an intern in this office as a prosecutor, and it was 4 individuals, and we went to court. I was assisting my supervisor prosecuting a drive-by shooting, and the person who literally walked into the courtroom, he's shackled up, he's in his orange, he's going up and he's going to sit where the defendant sit. He is the individual who shot at somebody, he shot him in the side because his girlfriend left him for this cat, right? So he's walking in the courtroom, I'm sitting at the prosecutor table, he's walking past, he looks at me, and this is what he does. And I looked at him and I immediately knew, crap, I know. So I wait till my supervisor's not looking, and he walks on by. And then we call the first witness. First witness come by, he's the one that got shot, and he's holding his side, he's walking up, and as he's walking past the prosecutor table, you know what happens. He looks at me, and guess what he does? I said, shit, I know him too. So I give him a heads up, and go, and then as they get in there, and they looking at me, and then somebody comes and tap me behind me, and it's a young lady, the girl that they were shooting over. She said, hey, preacher boy, I didn't know you was a prosecutor. The girl that they were shooting each other, we all went to Wyandotte High School. All of us was in the same class. 4 of us sitting in the same court for a criminal case, but all 4 of us were sitting in a different seat in that same courtroom. So what was my hardest thing? It was doing the work, which meant, yes, going to school, but also doing the work of not getting caught up in being the one doing the shooting, being caught up in the one running from the bullet, or getting caught up from the silly person who may have caused all this. So here's the point. Doing the work means knowing that your future is more important than the foolishness that's going on right now, and you got to stay focused on that. Thank you so much for allowing me to come, Mr. Mayor. It's always a pleasure. All of y'all are welcome to my office at any time so we can chop it up and make sure y'all become the next DA of wherever.
Well, let's
you
give him a
want to be.
round of applause. And I too went to Wyandotte County, and that's how I know. So, yeah, and went to Wyandotte High School. So here we go. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'll be right back. You guys, please ask any other question. I'll be right back.
I know when I was back in 2023, when I was working in your office, we were doing a project, and my issue was blighted housing and the lack of housing in Wyandotte. Since then, has there been any improvement whatsoever?
Yes, we've got some housing projects that are coming online. Specifically, there's a huge one out on 78th Street, just south of State Avenue, and there's other housing developments in between there. We're looking at, the commission is looking at a proposal out in Piper area of a huge housing development as well. Some of the older housing stock it's been there for a while. We've had developers come in and they're going to totally revitalize those. Gateway, they're right off Washington, and some off 7th Street. So yes, there's some housing developments coming in. But it is a huge problem. Not just housing, but affordable housing. If people can actually afford the rents or their mortgages and things like that. That continues to be a challenge. Yes.
As a mayor, how do you handle peaceful protests and non-peaceful protests?
Well, as the mayor, I mean, everybody has a right to protest. Literally, I hear what you're saying about not so peaceful. What I'm going to say is I don't condone violence. As a mayor, I can't, because I have to support, I'm sworn to uphold the law, the rule of law, in my community. But I do advocate for people to exercise their right to challenge the government, challenge their public officials, question their public officials, come to the community meetings. If they're not happy about something, be able to professionally and respectfully voice how they feel, voice their opinion. And I do support peaceful protests from individuals based on the things that are most important to them. So, yeah. Yes.
Now that you've put the work in and made so much progress and gotten into this position of power, how are you personally using your power to steer the country in the right direction?
Well, in my community, it's a lot of collaboration. I can't do things alone. One of the things that I've done is even though it's a unified government, I'm technically the mayor of Kansas City, Kansas, but I'm like the CEO of the county because it is a unified government. But we have 3 other cities in Wyandotte County: Bonner Springs, Edwardville, and Lake Elvira. One of the things when I talk about collaboration is sitting around the table with those other mayors, those other leaders, and trying to find real solutions to problems that we know impact the lives of real people every single day. And so you do that. And again, I talked about it with this young lady earlier. I'm not in this for me. So everything that I do, and I really champion myself, is getting out of the community, finding out what are the issues most important to the people in the community. And everything that I do, it should be community driven. So it's not so much what Tyrone wants, it's what my constituents want. What do you want to see your elected officials bring forward to improve the quality of life for you, your family, and not just today, but for future generations to come. And so that's that priority when we talk about policy, when we talk about community engagement that I really own.
What inspired you to go from law enforcement to
People, I care about people. I care about the community. And I just had some grassroots folks come, not very many, and they said we're not happy with what we're seeing in Kansas City, Kansas. We've seen the work that you've done as a police officer on the Housing Authority Board, as a board of trustee member of the college. You did some really good things. We see you as a good leader, and we know that you champion putting the people first above anything else. And we think you'd be a really good mayor. We're going to get behind you. Please consider running for mayor. So it wasn't so much, oh, I want to be mayor. That really never entered my mind until people came to me and said, we see you as being our leader. We want you to be our voice because we believe that you can push the things that we want to see change in our community forward. We're going to get behind you and support you.
Speaking for running for mayor, since you're not running for re-election, are there possible successors that you are going to endorse or put your trust in?
I don't believe our ethics code allows us to openly endorse anybody, at least as the mayor. I know in other communities they do. You can endorse whoever you want, but we have an ethics code that I believe prohibits from doing that openly. As Tyrone, Garner, I can. But it goes back to what I just told this young lady. I believe that it shouldn't be so much what I want. Really, I've told people in the community, get to know the issues. Get to know the people that are running for office. Don't get bamboozled because this person puts on a t-shirt and says, vote for me. And they smile and say, I'm going to get a selfie with you, and they kiss your grandma, hug your baby and all that. Do they know the issues? Do they have a plan? Do they have a vision? Does it reflect your values? And then you need to, as being community driven, get with other people in the community and say, okay, this is the person that we need to get behind because they're going to push what I think is best for my community forward. And so it really shouldn't be about what I want or really what anybody else wants. Vote for people that reflect your values, that have a good handle on the issues, that have a plan, and they're going to push what you want to see in your community forward. And then hold them accountable. That's the big thing. Sometimes we vote for these people in office and we go to sleep. And we don't know what they're doing. They might be voting exactly opposite of what they said they'll do. So you got to really stay in tune to these people that you put in office, hold them accountable. Some people say, what does hold them accountable mean? Number one, call them out. And then number two, if they still don't get it, vote them out. And get the right people in there that are going to push the values that you have and making life better for you and your family moving forward. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
As the mayor, how do you handle peaceful and non-peaceful protests?
Hey, yo, you already asked that.
You did?
Yes.
But did you hear the answer? Yeah.
I'll abbreviate it. You know, everybody has a right to protest. My thing is I don't condone violent protests. I never will, but I do support peaceful protests for whatever issues are most important to the people that are protesting. I think the other side of that response should be is elected officials, politicians, whatever you want to call them, need to pay attention and listen. And whatever those issues are that are important to the communities, you need to make sure that those elected officials, kind of going back to this young man's question, make sure that you're not only listening, but they're doing something about the issues that are most important to you. And if they're not, call them out, vote them out. That's how you solve that problem in our democracy.
That is a great question. Right here.
Yes.
What was the idea behind ending the mask mandate early against the health officials?
That was a decision made by a majority of our commission. There's 10 commissioners in the unified government in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. That item was brought before them. They had a robust debate, and ultimately a majority of them voted to discontinue the mask mandate just a little bit early. Yes, sir.
Do you ever have how do you handle affairs with any Native American tribes or peoples that might lie within your city or nearby areas? Whether, I don't know if there are reservations over where you're from, I don't know, but still, how do you deal with that? How do you help?
Well, number one, it starts with respect. I know I look more African American, but my dad is full-blood American Indian. And so my mother's African American, my dad's Native American, so I see both sides of it. And Wyandotte County is kind of a unique history that's there because we have something called the Quindale Ruins. And the Quindale Ruins was a site, it's nationally known, it's nationally renowned, but it's different than other underground railroad sites where slaves came in to find freedom. Kansas was a free state, and so slaves coming through the Underground Railroad ecosystem came through Missouri and made their way to Kansas City, Kansas by route of the Quindale Ruins. What was unique is that the Wyandotte tribe, along with abolitionists and freed slaves, were the ones that really helped those coming through the Underground Railroad into Kansas City, Kansas. And so we have a lot of historic markers. There's that Indian footprint that's there. And so we have a close relationship and bond, at least as African Americans, with the Native Americans tribes that have a footprint in Kansas City, Kansas. I think you will.
Oh yeah, what's something you think that's unique or advantageous about the Kansas City Metro that separates it from other cities of similar or larger size?
Well, I would say I think the biggest benefit to living in Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas Metro is we're centrally located. You can get to just about any part of the country in the same amount of time. I like to call it the big little city metro because even though we're considered somewhat of a bigger city, it still has a small town feel. I can go to a Chiefs game, I can go to a Royals game, I can go to a mall, I can go to Oak Park Mall, I can go to Independence Mall, and it's like clockwork. Or I can go to the Legends, I can go to Zona Rosa. Usually, if I go all the time, I end up seeing somebody that I saw before somewhere else, especially if I go to a sports game. You don't see that in a lot of big cities. I can see you one time, maybe in some part of New York, and I'll never see you again in my life. Not so much here, because if we have, it's a big city, we have more of a small town feel, and usually a lot of people know everybody knows everybody. So, and either you don't know, somebody knows who you are, or you know what I'm saying? So you kind of get that small town feel too. And the cost of living is a lot cheaper here than it is a lot of other places. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I know the commission is not partisan. It's not partisan, right? Like, there's no political parties. It's not partisan.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you guys are debating, I know you guys have different policies. How do you handle, if you come into like a conflict with, a member of the commission?
That's a good question. I believe you you have to be willing to compromise. You have to be willing to listen and not, and communicate in a way to seek to understand as opposed to be understood. Listening is key to that, and knowing that you're not going to win every debate. You're not going to get everything you want, and that's where the compromise comes in. And that's how I approach things. But you have to be able to have that open communication, build those positive relationships through collaboration. And then I can tell you that, at least in Wyandotte County, we may not agree on everything, but the ultimate goal is the same for all of us. It's just we disagree on how to get there most of the time, you know? This commissioner, the mayor, or this other commissioner say, you know, I want to go right, or I want to go left, or we need to keep going this way. But the ultimate goal is the same. How do we improve the quality of life for our residents? And those are the things that we all can agree on, and that should be the starting point, okay? I can tell you, for me, the easy test for me is it in the best interest of Wyandotte County when I make a decision, and is it going to make life better for someone other than me?
So, other than voting, what pathways would you say are most effective for people like us to take when advocating for causes that we care about, like maybe renewable energy or public transport?
I think educating yourself, number one, so you have a clear understanding of the issues. Collaborating, finding like-minded individuals that share your same values and understanding of those issues, and then go and advocate for those issues as a collective body to your elected officials or to those in authority. Yeah, I can tell you, your elected officials pay attention when you have a large group of people that come and say, we want this changed, as opposed to one person. Because most elected officials are they'll see you as one vote, but they'll see all of you all as maybe 100 votes, because you're going to go tell your mama, you're going to tell your cousin, you're going to tell your friend who to vote for based on what you all came to the table for. And if it's just you, you may have an outreach of maybe 10 people, most. This room is probably, if you all really got active, could probably reach 500 to 1,000 people. It's just you all. And that's how a lot of elected officials see things. They see things sometimes if they're looking for that next, to get back in seat, they're looking towards that next election sometimes. And so that's the power of our democracy, is that collective body of people coming together and say, this is important to us, it needs to be important to you, and if it's not, good luck on your next election. And I can tell you that's how a lot of politicians think.
If that's it, because we wanted to give them an hour, guys, and I don't know, do we have something that's pressing that any of you all just wish to ask? That if you walk away from here, you'll be upset you didn't ask that question. Oh, I guess so.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
When your term ends, do you plan on still working in law, or do you think you're going to go to maybe go back to law enforcement or do something else?
That's a good question. No, that career is behind me. I'll probably do mentoring, consulting, advising, things of that nature, but I'll still be active, pushing forward things that I believe in. Just like the question this young man answered. I'll still be active, I'll still be engaged, I'll still be visible. I'm not just going to go off and disappear. I'm older, but I'm not that old. So yeah, I'll still be here. Anybody else? Anybody? Well, I did tell this young lady here that you all are more than welcome, like the DA said, to come to my office anytime. Y'all got a VIP invitation, so all you got to do is reach out. Steve is there, and you can reach out to him, and you all are more than welcome to come visit me. I know sometimes it's hard asking questions in a group setting, but you can come talk to me anytime, and I'll be more than happy to share, pour into you, mentor you, help you any way that I can, because I do want each of you to be successful. And it goes back to this question here. All of you, God has given each one of you all the tools you need to be successful. And just remember that. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything, because you can. The only thing that stops you is you. I can tell you all the haters you're going to have in life. My haters, that just made me work even harder to show them that I can and I will, and to prove them wrong. And so just remember that you all are going to be successful. Just do the right things for the right reasons. had this one mentor, and, you know, and I grew up, you know, in Wyandotte County. I had options, I had choices, you know, just like you all have, but I had to think about those consequences. And I know you all heard this before, but one of my mentors told me when I was in high school, I was hanging around some wrong people. He said, you hanging around these knuckleheads over here. He said, you hanging around 6 knuckleheads, Tyrone. I see you with them. And, you know, that was when I first moved here from California. He said, guess who the 7th knucklehead is? And I'm like, who? And he said, guess who the 2nd knucklehead is? And he looked at me. You. That was a wake-up call. So just think about that. Because life does have consequences. And I do want you all to be successful. I know you're talking about jail. That doesn't have to be anybody's future in here. So get that out of your heads. Success, opportunity is just as available for you as it was for me and anybody else. Find out what you're good at. Find out what you enjoy. Find out what your passion is and work hard at getting there. And the biggest thing that I can tell you is life isn't always about money. I had a pastor tell me one day, when you die, you'll never find a U-Haul following you to the graveyard. And a lot of things, and we go through phases in life. I was young, I was you all at one point. Enjoy life. Live life to the fullest. Enjoy it because it goes quick. It just seems like yesterday I was you all. And now I'm 56 years old. Life goes by that quick. And so just enjoy your life. But as you go through life and you achieve and you become accomplished, whatever that is, and it is always about money. But if you become successful in whatever God blesses you with, reach down and pull somebody else up. Help somebody else be successful. Pour into somebody else. Mentor into somebody else. I really believe that's what God put us here to, is to help other people. And so just remember that is always give back. When you feel like you're where you got to the point where you've arrived. And no matter how long it takes for you to get to where you are, you may never even get there. And I'm not going to lie to you. Some people, they have a goal, they have a vision, and they never get there. Have a backup plan. And don't quit. So always have a backup plan. So even if this route don't work for you, have a backup plan so you can switch it up and go a different direction. And you'll be successful. And just, I don't know what anybody's faith is in here, but believe in yourself. Believe in the people that love you. My faith was I believed in God, and I always put God first. And I believe my prayers and my faith is what got me through. So I really wish you all the best. I wish you all the success. I see successful people sitting around here. Go out and just continue to do great things. Because you made it this far, that's an accomplishment in itself. Because I know all of us, I know people didn't make it this far. I know people that I went to high school with didn't make it out of high school because didn't make it out of life. You know, the streets got them. And so just know that you're blessed. No matter your situation in life, know that you're blessed. And always be thankful for everything God has blessed you with. And just continue to do great things, okay? Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you all.